Hi, I've chosen John Hume, an Irish nationalist who was awarded the Nobel Peace Prize in 1998 alongside David Trimble, a unionist, for his tireless efforts in bringing peace to Northern Ireland. Through his career, John Hume displayed the unwavering principles of self-control, fortitude, respect and responsibility that were instrumental in navigating the complexities of the Troubles and bringing peace to Northern Ireland. Just some background information. John Hume was born in Northern Ireland, a state that was created in 1921 by the British government. It was designed in favour of a Protestant majority over a Catholic minority, which led to discrimination in voting, housing and employment. This systemic discrimination became the root of deep social division that Hume would later dedicate his life to addressing. Throughout his career, John Hume displayed a high degree of self-control and right judgment. In the mid-1960s, Hume became an influential figure in the Northern Ireland civil rights movement, inspired by the civil rights movement in America. Hume advocated for peaceful, democratic methods to achieve equality and justice. A firm believer in the power of the individual action, Hume often quoted US President John F. Kennedy's famous words, "One man can make a difference, but every man should." John Hume's unwavering commitment to non-violence and self-control was pivotal in his political career during the Northern Ireland conflict. Operating in a profoundly polarised and violent environment, John Hume consistently rejected the use of force even in the face of personal and political attacks. He opposed violence both from the British government and from the IRA, believing that peaceful democratic methods were the only path to a lasting peace. Hume drew inspiration from civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King, often quoting King's assertion, "The old law of an eye for an eye leaves everyone blind." In 1968, Hume's ability for self-control was evident when he was leading a peaceful protest in the Bogside and Derry against British troops being introduced to the streets of Northern Ireland. While trying to defuse a confrontation between the demonstrators and the army, Hume was repeatedly knocked down with a fire hose and finally arrested for obstructing Her Majesty's forces. Hume's determination to avoid further escalation of violence and his leadership in advocating for peaceful change stood in stark contrast to those who sought retributions through violence. He continued to press for reforms and justice throughout his career through constitutional means, becoming one of the leading figures in the eventual peace process. A pivotal example of Hume's fortitude was his controversial decision in the 1980s to engage in dialogue with Sinn Féin, the political wing of the IRA. While many saw Sinn Féin as irreconcilable with the peace process, Hume believed that meaningful progress required the involvement of all stakeholders, even those associated with paramilitary groups. This decision grew sharp criticism from unionists and some nationalists, but Hume persisted, convinced that inclusive talks were the only path to a sustainable resolution. His ability to endure harsh criticism, political isolation, and threats to his own safety underscored his resilience and commitment to the peace process. The virtues of respect and responsibility, regardless of their religious and political background, was a cornerstone of Hume's philosophy. He advocated for dialogue and consistently reached out to people on both sides of the conflict. His ability to listen to unionist concerns, despite his nationalist background, earned him respect as a mediator. Hume's belief that everyone's voice needed to be heard laid the foundation for inclusive peace talks. Throughout his political career, John Hume was verbally abused by both sides of the sectarian divide, but he continued to advocate that the SDLP party that he helped to set up was non-sectarian and anti-sectarian. Again, he echoed the words of Martin Luther King, "If you use the methods of your oppressor, you will end up worse than your oppressor." Hume took on the responsibility of finding a peaceful solution to a conflict that had deeply divided Northern Ireland for decades. He placed the welfare of future generations and the need for lasting peace above the short-term political gains. His willingness to negotiate with all sides of politics led to the peace process and showed his sense of responsibility for the people of Northern Ireland. He viewed the peace process as a moral imperative, not just a political one. He was one of the main architects of the Good Friday Agreement that was instrumental in bringing lasting peace to Northern Ireland. The agreement effectively ended the Troubles, paving the way for lasting peace.